Welcome into a midweek edition of Believe in Panthers here on Believe Podcast Networks, brought to you by the fine folks over at FanDuel. I'm your host, Desmond Johnson, joined by the Panthers' all-time leading rusher, Jonathan Stewart. You remember to rate and subscribe, Believe in Panthers. Our playlist, you can find it on the YouTube channel for Believe, youtube.com/@Believe. And of course, you can find our audio episodes on any major podcast platform. Just search Believe in Panthers and you'll be right in there. Now, twice a week, we come on every Sunday after each game, which has been cathartic. I thought it was going to be scary, but it's been okay. It's been good for me as a Panther fan. And then we come on in our regular midweek show. Panthers versus the Dallas Cowboys, 1:00 kickoff this Sunday from Bank of America Stadium, where the Panthers are 2-0 this season. Feels good to say. Panthers 2-3, and actually in the conversation for once in October during David Tepper's ownership, I guess you could say. Well, no, they were a little bit earlier with Matt Rule teams and stuff, but this one feels a little different. Feels like they're building some stuff. Stu, wanted to start off with final thoughts from Sunday. We still had some collective things that we pulled from that game Sunday. A great effort from the Panthers coming down from behind 17 points to defeat the Miami Dolphins at home. Give me some of the final thoughts, some takeaways from that game on Sunday before we dive into our stuff for this week.
Yeah, man. It was a good game, and just looking at the way we were able to run the ball, it doesn't happen on accident, right? It's not by luck. It's not by chance. Usually, when you're able to run the ball so physical, the way the Carolina Panthers did against the Miami Dolphins, it's because you have guys blocking, right?
Yeah.
Opening up lanes. Let's start right there, okay? A couple weeks ago, a lot of people had a lot to say about Xavier Legette and all the things, right? And XL heard the noise. He brought his pads, brought his hands, he brought his routes, but most importantly, he brought a mentality, which is I'm more physical than you. I'm more leveraged than you, and I will whoop your tail. And it showed up in the blocking game. Okay, so about every explosive run that there was some incredible blocking that was going on up front with the offensive line. But whenever you are able to have receivers buying into blocking, it creates explosive plays down the field. Rico Dowdle had 5 explosive plays. Explosive plays are plays that are 12 yards or more. Rico had 5 of those. And Xavier Legette showed up on a lot of those plays. Blocking, not just getting in front of a guy, but getting in front of his guy, giving an angle of his back to the runner to help him decide where he's going so that it's an obvious lane, right? But then just driving his legs, finishing blocks. We saw a lot of finishing going on Sunday against the Miami Dolphins. And that's what it takes in this league to win games. When guys finish blocks, when guys finish tackles, when you run to the ball, when you play with your feet and be where your feet are, not playing with just hands, right? Reaching and grabbing, finishing guys to the ground, finishing guys to the sideline. That's what we saw this weekend. That and to me, that is part of the identity, right? When you talk about running the ball, it's not just all about the running back. It's about everyone buying in. It's about everyone taking ownership and understanding that you have to do your job. There's currency and trust, and that's what happened this past weekend. There's trust in Xavier Legette, and not just in the receiving game, but in him blocking, right? Blocking is how receivers earn trust. You don't just ask the coaches for targets, you show up in assignments. You don't just show up in the box scores. So that's the reason why this is like a silent currency, right? When you block and then people watch film after the game, they have the 22 version. If everybody is curious to see what Legette was doing, go look at the 22 version of the copy of this game. And you'll see him show up not just in route running, not in just making the big catches that he had in his game, right? And I'm sure in that locker room, in those rooms, it's all about example, like preaching by example, right? Young players see Legette take the hit that he did, the first couple of weeks of the season, but he stayed on the block, right? He stayed on the block. He ran through the traffic, and then he ran through the traffic, basically, right? I'm talking about, when you are crossing an intersection and you stand on the block, everybody sees the person standing on the block. But then eventually you have to make up your mind saying, I'm going to cross the intersection, right? The stoplight. I'm either going to sit here and wait all day, or I'm going to cross street. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to wait to see when I can go, because I have faith in my speed. I have faith in myself. I'm not telling these kids to be, crossing, busy highways. Make sure you look both ways, left and right, and then look left again, and then cross. And I feel like Xavier Leggett had a leap of confidence this past weekend, and it showed in all aspects of his game.
Yeah, it's crazy how one game can kind of maybe possibly get you right, and by doing some things that people aren't expecting you to do to get right on. And from you saying that, it reminded me the best rushing teams the Carolina Panthers have had in their history have had wide receivers that are willing to go out and block those edges. Steve Smith, Moose Muhammad. Yeah, like dudes that were like great blockers, like, and would lead to those outside lanes for you and D'Angelo Williams and Christian McCaffrey later on to hit that left or right side and go. Shout out to Cade Mays, who was battling Austin Corbett for the starting center position at the beginning in preseason. Corbett won out. Corbett got hurt. Mays comes in, and to be honest, they may be better with Kate Mays at center than they were with Corbett. Like the running game has opened up considerably, and he had a couple of down the line blocks that I went back to go watch that people started posting on Twitter. I was like, man, Kate Mays is really getting after it. Like, this dude's like one of them country boys that just don't lift weights. He's just out there throwing hay bales, like just like to get strong, like that country strong, just throwing people all over.
Drinking a Bud Light while he's,
he's one of those guys.
While he's a little break in between.
And you need those guys. You need those guys in there. You need a mix of those guys in there. So shout out to him too. I noticed that the injury report coming out of the game on Sunday. There's 4 Panthers that are listed today as questionable: Tershawn Wharton, the defensive tackle; Chau Smith-Wade, the cornerback; Jatavion Sanders, tight end, who's been trying to get back from injury. He's missed a couple of weeks now, that I think about it; and Chuba Hubbard, who missed this last Sunday. All 4 of them listed as questionable, which, from our conversation with Chris Hogan a couple of weeks ago, questionable means they may actually play on Sunday, right? Like, so that's there. And then Jalen Coker, Dave Canales mentioned, I think it was yesterday, that he is getting ramped up. His 21-day window to return from injured reserve has begun. He's doing great, says Canales. He's hitting some top speeds. Now it's about capacity. So now you're talking about adding Jalen Coker back to the mix of this wide receiver room. So he would getting some confidence himself. Ted McMillan went off, had a great game Sunday too. So you're starting to see that happen where
Hemi Horn Jr.
He better be active on Sunday.
His name is Hemi.
He better be active.
His name is Hemi Horn.
Hemi Horn. He better be active on Sunday from the game he had with the game-saving fourth down catch on 4th and 5 to convert. The rookie class played exceptionally well on Sunday, and that's kind of what we wanted to see from the. We didn't want to see. I didn't want to see the free agents that they kind of picked up to plug in certain spots. I wanted to see the specific guys that Dan Morgan and company had picked, like from the draft, for specific skill sets to see how they would do. And they've worked them in. Lathan Ransom's not starting, but he gets a lot of playing time, especially in the second half. He was out there on that final drive, almost got an interception. Well, the ball got batted in front of him, so it didn't make it to him. And other guys, the tight end, Mitchell Evans, he's shown up big. We had a bunch of tight ends week 1. They've all started to get hurt, and he's had to step in. He scored a couple touchdowns this season so far, so he's done well. There's just a number of rookies that have done really, really well. Is there one rookie that stands out to you as we're 5 weeks into the season that's exceeded expectations for you so far, other than Tet? Because I think Tet's I
think Mitchell Evans is a guy that we didn't necessarily speak on a lot during the offseason, during training camp. But ultimately, man, you can feel the shift. You can feel the development. You can feel these kids. You can see these kids. They're kids, right?
Finally,
they're young men. They're young men. We might as well just call them the Carolina kids, right? This class, we're going to the 2005 NFL Draft Carolina Panther class guys and free agency guys. You guys are called the Carolina kids. And, those weren't just veterans carrying the comeback against Miami. It was young guys, the young guns, late round rookies, Mitchell Evans, Jimmy Horn Jr., Trevor Etienne, making grown man plays, when it mattered the most, they stepped up. The defense finally stood tall and shut down what could have been, you know, Miami's bread and butter, which is running game. Back at least it was 2 years ago.
Mhm.
And that's non-existent now. And we basically given other teams the footprint of what it looks like to stop the Miami Dolphins right there in their tracks, 19 yards rushing, non-existent, right? And I feel like they played that game like pride was on the line, right? You have
Mhm.
2 1-3 teams coming in and facing off against each other, and Carolina willed themselves into that win and said, it ain't us, it's y'all.
Yeah. It's
When
crazy because I saw Dolphins fans online kind of like clowning the fact that they lost to us. And I'm like, I get the fact we were both 1-3, we're the Panthers, blah,
yeah,
blah, but y'all were 1-3 too. And
yeah,
people are clowning y'all. Like they're visibly clowning the Dolphins for whatever y'all got going on over there. I'm actually surprised as we're taping this that Mike McDaniel did not get fired. There's a meme going around of Bryce Young in a Reaper uniform. Whenever he's won a game, it feels like somebody gets fired the next day. And even when he won earlier this year, um,
yeah,
who did we play? Somebody got fired. Special teams coordinator. Somebody got fired like right after that game was over with when we beat Atlanta. So I was
yeah,
kind of sitting there thinking, is Mike McDaniel going to be coach of the Miami Dolphins on Monday when we get back in here? He's still in there. Even
mhm,
though, to be honest, I thought the nail in the coffin on Sunday was him basically waving the white flag at the very end. They had timeouts and like they chose just not to stop the clock. And he was just like, whatever.
let's just
Like
get out
40,
of
I was
here.
like, yeah, let's just get out of here.
You guys
I was
don't
like,
deserve to fight.
yeah, they got 2 timeouts left. What are y'all doing? Like, and then they just kind of gave the game away. So I'm like, he might be reserved to the fact that he might not be here on Monday, but lo and behold, he's still here. Some other notes from Sunday. Dave Canales mentioned that they had switched Trevin Wallace and Christian Rosenblum, the two linebackers, so that Wallace was the mic and
Mhm.
and Rosenblum could kind of run around. And the proof is in the pudding in terms of results. Rosenblum had the highest number of tackles with 9 on the team, and he was all over my screen on Sunday. Trevin Wallace was all over my screen Sunday too. He said he felt more comfortable calling the plays. Rosenblum said it freed him up, so he was able to just play more freely, which we've talked about on this show, but being able to play free football and just react as opposed to
Yeah,
having all these stuff in your head. And
yeah.
that
What
maybe something that simple was easy thing to do just to spark the defense.
Yeah, I mean, last year Trevor Wallace was calling the plays, right? So he came into the league doing one thing, and then all of a sudden that switches. So he probably went into this offseason thinking, all right, man, let me make sure I get better at that. And how do my routine and my eyes, my process, as far as the play developing, how am I going to play better in that mode, right? And then we get Christian Roseboom in here to basically do what Trevor Wallace did last year. So I mean, I think it again, it is a process, ladies and gentlemen. You don't just kick things in high gear without figuring out how to drive the stick.
Yeah,
And so,
he's pretty good.
yeah, and I think we're starting to understand, what Evero's been going through, right? You run a 3-4 defense, you run a certain type of defense, you're trying to figure out the players that fit the mold of what you want to do. And I think just at this linebacker position, that's why each week is its own week in the NFL. You never know what the outcomes are going to be because you have professionals in these positions every week trying to find the leverage, trying to find ways to win games, and trying to find the weaknesses of your opponent, and also studying the weakness of yourselves, looking yourself in the mirror. And I feel like we've been watching this coaching staff do exactly that this year, early and often, because every single week we talk about a problem and then we address it, and then there's a new problem, right? And so it's a learning process that will continue throughout this throughout the year, and that's just the way football is. That's the way sports is. The better coaches, the better teams figure those things out on the run, and I think we're starting to figure that out for ourselves because we made adjustments in that game. Because in the
Yeah,
second half or the second quarter, we made adjustments immediately for covering that tight end, right? Outside of that, we were holding our own. We had 40% pressure rate in the second half, so there was an adjustment made there. But this going back to the linebacker position, being able to play downhill, being able to be instinctive, and allow yourself to be in position to make plays everywhere. That's what a linebacker is supposed to be doing, right?
Mhm.
We finally got to see that out of Christian Roseboom. Last year he was in LA and he had 120 plus tackles, and maybe we might start seeing that.
That
You
would
know
be
what I'm
nice.
saying? That would
Hey,
be really nice.
go on in
Taking the green dot off his helmet.
here.
Didn't just take the responsibility away. It just took the chains off, in my feeling. Like, let that
Mhm.
dog eat. It looked like
Yeah.
he was a dog out there on Sunday against them Dolphins. So we want to see that same dog against the Cowboys.
It looked cathartic for both of them in terms of just being, like you said, just being unleashed a little bit. So hopefully we'll see more of that going forward. I wanted to stop real quick when we were talking about the rookie classes. I went back and just I went and asked Google Dan Morgan's classes from 2024, 2025. So when he officially became the general manager, the roster, because the main reason why we haven't had any depth is a lot of the picks that were selected before Dan Morgan became general manager simply aren't on the team anymore. They just didn't do very well in terms of picking out talent. But when you get to 2024, listen to these names here and tell me if they're still on the team. First
The answer is
round,
no.
Xavier Legette, South Carolina.
Yep.
Second round, Jonathan Brooks, who a lot of people have forgotten about, the running back
Yeah.
that they traded up for from Texas. That's a really good running back. That's just kind of waiting.
Just got hurt.
Just got hurt. Well, get him back next year. Trevin Wallace, who we just talked about, is playing the mic right now, which is a coveted position for the Panthers. The fourth round, Jatavion Sanders, a tight end waiting on getting back, who's shown great flashes. Fifth round, Charles Smith-Wade from Washington State, cornerback, who's been playing in the nickel. Then you get in the sixth and seventh round, Jaden Crumney, I think was still on the team, the defensive tackle, and Michael Barrett, a linebacker out of Michigan, who I do not believe is on the team anymore. This draft class he just did in 2025, Ted McMillan first round, Nick Scorton second round, defensive tackle who's in the rotation. Princely Uman
Dog. Yep. Princely dog.
Yeah, dog. Trevor Etienne, who played
dog
a lot this past Sunday, fourth round. Lathan Ransom, fourth round, defensive back of Ohio State. He played. Cam Jackson, I think, got hurt week before, but he was in the rotation for the defensive tackles out of Florida. Mitchell Evans, who stepped up as a rookie tight end, Notre Dame. Jimmy Horn, wide receiver, sixth round, Colorado. Fourth and 5, converts it. First action of the year, first catch of his career as a 4th and 5 conversion. These rookies and second
he applies pressure. He says he don't feel pressure. I apply pressure.
He applies pressure. Like these, it gives me so much more confidence in Dan Morgan and his eye for talent. Like now that you're sitting there seeing it, because they're all out there now and they're playing. Give these guys, this core, a group, couple years to grow together and learn how to win and start winning big games. Because that's the next thing. The next step for them is to win a couple in a row and have that feeling. Then
some GMs have the eye and some GMs have the gut. Dan Morgan has the gut.
Yeah. He's got some conviction. Like he knows what it's different when you're just kind of picking, like, oh, that guy might help, might not help. He knows specifically the type of player that he's looking for. And I would think that's different when you're out doing the draft and free agency. If you're looking for a certain type of spice, you're not going to just accept any spice. You want that one. Like I need that kind of spice to make this thing taste the way I want it to taste.
I want all my football players to have the same energy as Derek Brown.
We're starting to see it.
As Rico Dowdle, Chuba Hubbard, T-Mac.
We might get Chuba back this week.
JC Horn. Yeah, we get Chuba back, boy. We running the ball 50 times.
Please. Against that. Okay, let's do that right now. Keys to victory versus the Dallas Cowboys, and then we'll get you with our FanDuel bet of the week off of that Cowboys Panthers money line. The fact that Chuba might be back this week, I went to go look up stats here. The Dallas Cowboys rank dead last in yards allowed per game in the entire NFL. They're giving up 412 yards a game.
They're giving up the draws.
They're giving up 127 yards per game on the ground. 284 yards a game in the air. Like it's just they can't play defense. They're giving up 30 points a game. This is a game where I think people are a little concerned because of the star on the helmet and that Dak Prescott's coming to town and this and that or whatever. I've always said from the beginning of the season when I saw that game, I was like, that might be a shootout because Dallas has no defense, and I'm not sure about ours. I'm not so sure it's a shootout anymore. Do you think? I think the key to the game is going to be the Panther defense versus Dak Prescott. That's the key because we're going to do what we're going to do against his defense, in my opinion. If we just do what we did Sunday,
these are the keys. I'm going to break it down. Okay.
Hit me.
Run the rock. Run it. Run the
Run
rock.
it.
Shit, Chuba's back, run it even more. Okay.
Yeah.
But
I want like
you
30
got
carries between two of them.
for Carolina, it starts with Rico Dowdle. It starts with the run game. It starts with, if Chuba's back, it starts with him. Trevor Etienne, whoever's getting the ball as a handoff, jet sweeps, Jimmy Horn Jr., Hemi Horn Jr., all of it. We need the same energy that we had against the Miami Dolphins. The man just ran for 200 plus yards. Now he gets a shot at the team that let him walk away. Lord, that's a recipe. That is a recipe. We talk about cooking. Let that man go cook. Let him cook. Let him add his own little seasoning in there. He's from South Carolina. He's from South Carolina, ain't he?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Somewhere in the Carolinas, wherever he at, whatever kind of seasoning that they cook at his home, let him cook. Okay. He's back in the bank. And there's a stat line I want to share with everybody. Rico Dowdle, counting his time in a Cowboys jersey, every time he's been in the Bank of America Stadium, he's now rushed for 408 yards on 57 carries. That's a 7 yard per. That's a 7 yard per carry average.
Oh man, I forgot.
And just 4 games, yo. Last year, he was one of the reasons why the Cowboys won. Right?
I forgot. I completely forgot. That was Rico. Yeah, Rico was running up and down our back all day.
The Cowboys came into Carolina and said, we got to stop the run because Chuba was going off. So guess what their game plan is going to be? Stop the run. So we have to run the rock. Ain't no if and ain't no buts about it, right? So this also keeps that man Dak Prescott on the sideline. And you turn this into a street fight, not a track meet. Because if you turn this into a track meet, it's going to be exactly what them games have been, where there's been 30-something to 30-something, because they're going to give up the points.
40-37. Yeah. You let the Giants score 40 points on you. Like,
so if you run the rock, you control the tempo. And when you control the tempo early, then it starts getting lopsided. Okay. Dallas has given up 4 yards of pop on the ground. So make them prove that they can stop the run. And if you're Carolina, feed the back until it calls for you to throw the ball, right?
Force them to stop it. I don't think they can. Like, I mean, we've watched them in the past 3 years. Green Bay ran up and down their back in a playoff game a couple years ago, just embarrassed them. Like, they haven't been able to do it this year. I thought Baltimore was the worst defense in the league, and then when I went to go look at the numbers, I'm like, well, Baltimore's number next to last. They're above them, but now Baltimore has 8 starters out on defense. This is just Dallas' defense. This is what they are. And you traded away your best player right before the season started. You traded away Micah Parsons. So
it opens up the quick pass game. It opens up the play action game. So just run the rock. But then also let's talk about the key number 2. Protect Bryce. Because last year again, they got after us. I think they had at least 4 sacks, 5 sacks on us. I don't know, but
it wasn't a fun game. Yeah.
But you know, that's gonna be any team's like need, right? To get after the quarterback. We got to protect him. We don't need Bryce Young to be the hero in this game. He needs to be upright. He needs to be a guy that when we protect Bryce Young, he becomes surgical, right? You know, and when I say surgical, I mean he's running the ship. He's in the surgery room. He's the surgeon. He's conducting everything. He's asking for instruments. He's saying, "Hey, I need you to hold this for me. I need you to." He's doing. He's conducting the symphony, if you will, right? So if you got a guy that's conducting the symphony, you need to block for him. And so Bryce doesn't need any fireworks. He just needs 4 seconds of peace. Okay. The pocket needs to be tight. Okay. So protect him, because also too we just realized this past game, Desmond, we got some weapons, and we protect him on the moments where it matters the most. Now it falls on him to connect with those receivers. Okay.
He connected with like 9 different receivers on Sunday, I
Yeah.
think, once he calmed down. And
Once he calms down, he's able to perform. He's
and
able, if you give him some peace, look at him, man. Bryce Young you look at him, he's just a guy that just exudes peace.
yeah, actually, that's excellent way to describe him. And I think honestly, Dave Canales is kind of learning on the fly what kind of quarterback Bryce Young is going to be in the NFL.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because we've talked about it here. He's not the unicorn type. He's not Cam Newton or Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen. They can just put a whole team on his back and come with me and that kind of thing. Just a physical specimen kind of guy.
Right.
He's not that. And I think for me personally, him getting drafted number 1 and what we gave up for him forced me to put him in that class, and maybe he didn't deserve to be there. So that gave some expectations that maybe he didn't deserve to have. But we've had enough film on him now where Bryce is the type where you don't want to come out throwing the first 15 scripted plays of the game. You don't want 10 of them to be passes. Like, let him settle in, hand him the ball off, let the offensive line get lathered up, let them get some confidence, let whoever's running, Rico, Chuba, ETN, whoever, get some of these runs going that gets the offense moving down the field and get the defense thinking about it. So when Bryce does start to do that surgical stuff, they're not ready. Whereas in the beginning of the game, if he comes out, throw, they're pinning their ears back. They're coming after him. People are locked up. I think they might have unlocked the recipe for the offense in terms of what gets it going. And it's not Bryce getting him going. It's getting everything, the run game, really. Get the run game going first. And then
it's greasing the brakes, greasing the tires, greasing the engine. And then you put the driver in the car. Okay?
Go. Yeah, go. Instead of just starting off cold, it's 20 degrees outside, and you're like, all right, we want you to hit it to 60, go. And like, I don't know how to do that in this car.
Yeah.
So I think that might be it for that. That's my key to victory. Run game. Dallas can be had. This defense can be had. Everyone. Russell Wilson beat this team. Russell Wilson was no longer a starter in New York, has been benched. That was that was the peak of his season this year, was beating Dallas week 1 or whatever in overtime or whatever it was. So we can do this. We've seen enough to do this. And now, as we get to around the league in a little bit, we'll see some of the teams we've lost to might actually be better than what people expected them to be. So we're sitting looking at the Panthers 2-3 record and being like, it's a different kind of 2-3 based off of what we've seen from these other teams. But before we do that, before we got to get here quickly too, the FanDuel bet of the week, and Dallas Cowboys at the Carolina Panthers. The Cowboys are favored by 3.5 points. The over/under in this game is 49.5. And I went down to look at Carolina Panthers total points. They've got the Panthers scoring 23.5 points in this game. I just told y'all the Cowboys allow 30 plus points a game, and we're at home. I think I would take that bet if I was a betting man. I think I would take that.
If I was a betting man, I'm taking that, dog.
That seems.
Score. I think the score is going to be something around.
I'm thinking like 35,
if we run the rock early and often and keep them boys, them Cowboys on the sideline, like I think we can. This is easily like a 31-17.
That's where I kind of was going. 31-17, 31-21, something like that.
That would make me feel really, really good.
That 23.5 just seems really low considering this defense is coming in here and they're about to take on a red hot Panther offense. It seems like they're finding their way. So if you want to check that out, there's plenty more over there as well. It's over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Sportsbook.fanduel.com. Just click the football tab, go to NFL. Those are in there. There's NBA is now starting. You've got the Major League Baseball playoffs, NHL, like starting. All this stuff is starting this week. This is one of the best times of the year for sports fans. So definitely go over to FanDuel Sportsbook, check them out, and get your bets in for there. Around the league, real quick, we were talking about briefly before the show started. 2 of the losses the Panthers have had, the Jacksonville Jaguars and the New England Patriots, they're out here beating teams. The Patriots just defeated the Bills straight up, and last night the Jaguars Monday night the Jaguars defeated the Chiefs on a weird Trevor Lawrence stumble in the backfield, still not get touched, running for a touchdown. Like, what was Chris Jones doing? Did you see that play?
Man, I don't know what he was doing.
He just stopped. He was like, I think he thought the play was dead or something, but there was no whistle or anything. He's just standing there in the middle of the field, and then by the time you could do anything, that man wasn't gonna catch Trevor Lawrence. He was like 10 yards away from him. Like, And he's just kind of like,
Yeah,
like
Trevor Lawrence built too. He
he
liked
got
that.
some wheels. Yeah, he got some wheels if he needs them. So the Jaguars are 4-1, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I think the Patriots are 3-2 or something like that. So
yeah, the Carolina's sitting at 2-3 right now. The record stings a little bit, obviously, right? Because it's like, dang, we starting off exactly how we've been starting off, but not really. The two of those losses came against Jacksonville and New England. And obviously Arizona, I would say that game we just beat ourselves. For sure. But teams that are flat out rolling right now, those are two of them. The Patriots and the Jaguars. So in my mind, that's not a collapse on the Carolina Panthers, perhaps. It's more so context for me, right? I'm able to go throughout, the season right now, going into week six, and basically have this baseline of, okay, well, Jacksonville isn't that bad of a team.
Yeah.
Call it what you want, right? You can call it early growing pains. It's not an excuse, but it's an experience that the Carolina Panthers have. So, Bryce Young is processing things faster. The defense is processing things faster. Evero is doing his mastermind thing, switching guys in spots, and you see the younger guys starting to play more, which has exuded the confidence of that team. That defense has been getting after the quarterbacks, been stopping the run. Guys have been playing physical. The secondary is just out of this world right now when it comes to physicality. Big corners, right? Big guys that can make plays. You'd rather go into October with growing pains than regret in December. And I think Carolina is not broken. They're becoming, right? And I feel like Panther Nation, you come to this podcast, I'm pushing hope. All right.
You see some people starting to push that on Twitter that the world's place to go for pushing positivity for the Panthers.
Yeah,
So
push a
we'll
P
take
over
that.
here, man.
Yeah,
Pushing positivity, pushing hope.
Wait, before I forget, shout out to Meow Mix or whatever, this podcast that blew up virally online. These two guys basically sit at a bar and talk about the Panthers. They decided that they weren't going to do this anymore. That was affecting their lives, that having to follow this team. And they decided, they just put out a message like, we're going to stop. We might do a couple here and there, but we're not obligated to. We're going to go back to our families.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a small podcast. Like, I mean, I think they had like 1,000 subs on YouTube or whatnot, but they've been doing it for years. So people knew of them. And then Bleacher Report and all these other places like latched onto it, and like 4 million views later, like they're like all blown up, and all the Panther content creators that I know online are all like, "You can't quit now. Like you got to keep going. Like what are you doing?" And then the game happened. So like I'm wondering if they're going to come back and actually start doing stuff. But shout out to them. I wanted to give them a quick shout out because everybody else in the world has this past week that are Panther creators.
For sure. And if you're looking for a new podcast, you know where to find us.
We ain't going nowhere. Like, trust me. Like, I'm sitting here waiting for the good days. I've gone through the darkness. I don't need to like leave when the good days are about to begin. You know how much that would upset me if I decided to quit doing this pod and all of a sudden the Panthers rattle off 8 straight wins and get to the playoffs and start winning stuff. And now I'm just sitting like this on my couch, like, I knew y'all was going to do something like this. I knew it. I knew y'all was going to do this. I ain't going nowhere. I ain't going nowhere. I've lived through it. I ain't going nowhere. Give me a final score for Dallas and Carolina.
Oh, 31-17.
Oh, that's right. 31. I'm going to go with you. 31-17. That sounds compact, neat. Rice is the beast at home.
And only because we've been protecting the house.
And
if we are able to go into this game with the mentality to run the ball, then we're gonna be all right. If we got Dak Prescott out there more times than none, it can get ugly. It can be a shootout, right? But the biggest key is to run the ball, protect Bryce Young, own the middle of the field on offense, and put points on the board, right? We can't settle for field goals. Cannot settle for field goals.
Yep.
And on defense, you just got to continue to show up, especially on that defensive line. If our defensive line can continue to be who they've been against the teams that we beat and put it on the Cowboys just like that, we should be able to hold our ground on defense. I feel like, we have J.C. Horn, Michael Jackson, Thornton has come into his own as an
Mhm.
undrafted guy, right? Somebody that we can depend on. Shaw Smith Wade, his injury has opened up opportunity, right? And I want to also speak on injuries and opportunity. Rico Dowdle, had a 206-yard rushing performance because Chuba Hubbard did go down, and he was a guy that the Carolina Panthers knew they can depend on. There was my 206-yard performance against the New York Football Giants. D'Angelo Williams was hurt that game. That was an opportunity for me. D'Angelo Williams rushed for 210 yards against the New Orleans Saints. That was a game that I was down, and guys rise to the occasion. When you
Mm.
have guys with injuries, and the depth chart comes to play even harder, and like exudes expectations. That's a good making of a good roster. Now, good teams, they make it come together and they stack wins. Are we going to be able to stack wins? Are we going to be able to stack that feeling? Especially at home. Right now we're 2-0 at home, which is it's a good thing. If you win all your home games, you got a chance.
Got a chance. Yeah, for sure. Before we got here, a quick 1 minute Stu's take of the week. You wanted to mention something about I don't know if anybody, well, I'm sure people have seen it by now, but the Arizona Cardinals head coach Jonathan Gannon putting the paws on one of his players on the sideline, one of the running backs, if I'm not mistaken. And you sent me the videos. Like, we got to talk about this. So I want to give you the last minute here because I know we both got to get out of here. Your take on the week. I think you said he apologized or something for it, which
Yeah.
yeah, duh,
Yeah,
he needs to.
it's just
But
more so for people to understand, because I see all the comments and like, oh, shame on the coach for holding him accountable. Well, what if your coworker or your boss at work slapped you on the arm or the
mhm,
chest for not turning in an email on time?
TPS report or whatever. Yeah.
Right, a report or an Excel spreadsheet. You would go up in arms, okay? So what this comes down to is that this is a physical game. This is a game that requires a lot of physicality. But the truth of the matter is, if this was reversed and that running back put his hands on Jonathan Gannon,
Oh
guess
man,
what? We would be having another conversation.
we'd be talking about this on Fox News and
We'd
like
be
all over
talking
the
on,
place.
yeah,
Yeah,
he would
all
be
over the place.
fired. He would be kicked off the team.
Hmm.
Because we talked about this with Robbie Anderson, because Robbie, when he was with the Carolina Panthers, and how he responded on the sideline during his time here, which he learned from that, right? Because that
Yeah.
was unacceptable. We all agreed that wasn't okay from a professional standpoint. But when we talk about coaches and all that, everybody has to be on the same page, as that's not how things should go. If I put my hands on a college player, if I'm a college coach, that is not okay. And it goes down the line. It goes down to high school, youth football, doesn't matter. It is unacceptable, because again, if it was reversed, we'd be all up in arms.
Yeah. And Jonathan Gannon needs to make sure uh he's lucky he did it to whoever he did it to, because if he did it to the wrong
He
person,
did it to the wrong one.
yeah, he's
he
gonna get
would have
pushed
been.
back.
He would
Yeah,
be
that's
knocked out.
because some of these guys came from worlds where you don't do
Yeah, you
that.
don't touch
You
me.
don't put
You
your
ain't gonna.
hands on me. Yeah,
If we got a helmet, if you got a helmet on, or you got shoulder pads on, or you my teammate, I can receive that. But
hmm,
you are not in my shoes, coach.
yeah, you ain't supposed to be touching me like this.
Yeah,
So we'll
get out
and
my
Arizona's
face.
now 2-3. That's the only one where the three losses we've had. That's the one where I'm like, we should have got that game. Like we shot ourselves in the foot early, and then we
Hmm.
tried to come back. And we ran out of time because Kyler
Yeah.
Murray and they were trying to give us that game, and then the
Mhm.
Cardinals were trying to give us that game at the very end. Remember, the defense kept having the penalties and everything else. They're not as disciplined as they probably should be. Thinking back on that
Mhm.
game, because they kept doing, what was it, false starts or something. That
Yeah.
last drive, they just kept trying to give it to us. That's a
Trying to.
reflection of coaching, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
there might be something even more going on in Arizona there. We got to get out of here. We will be back Sunday right after usually after the game, especially if it's at home. Stu's usually on the Panther Radio Network. So it's not immediately after the game. It's usually about 5:15-ish, 5:30. will come if it's a 1 o'clock kickoff. So look for us sometime after. It worked out well this past Sunday because it was right at the halftime of the 4 o'clock games when we came on. So look for us there on the YouTube channel here for Believe. This will be on the Believe Podcast Network here later on the audio side as well. We'll see you guys live Sunday. Come in and participate. Panthers, Cowboys, 31-17 is our prediction here.
Before we get out of here, I just got an alert that Jalen Coker is excited to return to practice this week. Let's go.
Coke boys in the house.
They're gonna have some decisions to make.
Yeah, it better not be Jimmy. It better not be Jimmy. Jimmy better be on this roster on Sunday.
Just have all of them on there.
Put them all out there.
Just have them all out there in the game. Put Jimmy at returner, and we'll figure it out.
Hey, it's Believe in Panthers. Keep pounding y'all. We'll see y'all on Sunday.